Welcome to our Thursday noon Central Time photo organizing live question and answer. If you're catching this on the replay, I'm just going to give it a few seconds to see if we have people joining us so they have time to get their notes together and then we can dive into the program. So we're here in Wisconsin. I'm Molly. I own Pixology, where we have organized a lot of photos for people over the years. And we do this program to just try to touch base with people live, where you can you can ask questions and we'll try to answer them during our time on the show. If you're joining us later and you have questions, you can drop them in the comments and we'll catch them later. So today, I just thought it would be interesting to talk a little bit more about tags. So we're going to have that on our agenda and a couple other things. So if you're joining us, say hi in the chat and let us know where you're joining from. Corinne's kind of monitoring the comments in the background and hopefully wherever you are, it's warmer and nicer than it is here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We got a lot of ice last night. So anyway, let me just dive into the agenda. We are going to talk about tagging people in photos. All right. And I'm going to share a little bit about our system for when we do that. I also have had the question, what tags should be used when there are multiple marriages or changes, in a person's, title through the years, like, when people become a professor or a doctor, how do you handle titles? We also had a question about PlusTek scanners. The Z300 scanner is quite a bit less expensive than the scanner we like to recommend. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit. And a couple other things that come up, as well as any questions that you have for us today. All right. I guess, let's see here. Okay, tagging photos. How do you add tags? I think it's important to know that if you are tagging people in Facebook, those tags don't count. The tags that you use in Facebook only stay in Facebook. When you download the pictures, those tags disappear. So that's where a lot of people think about tagging people and their friends and family, but those don't count. When you are editing or adding a tag, let me put it that way. When you're adding a tag, usually you are working with the metadata of a photo. So the metadata is all the information about your pictures. It includes the date taken, it includes comments if you want to add, and then tags. Some programs and computers like Mac, Apple Photos, some call tags keywords. All right, so you might see the term tags or keywords. This is a metadata field, and when we are editing our photos metadata, we're really working with our pictures on a pretty deep level. This is where we identify people and you maybe tell the stories. And it's a different step in our process, for organizing photos. So I thought before I dive into more about tagging photos, I want to show you our roadmap for organizing pictures. And I also want to point out that tagging is not facial recognition. Tagging and facial recognition are two separate things. When you tag photos, you are adding a tag. You are doing a physical action to add information, a tag to that photo. Photo or facial recognition is something that is generated by the program or app that you are using to look at your pictures. So when facial recognition is run, often you can look on your phone and you can see groupings of people or one picture group of pictures for one person, and there's facial recognition. Facial recognition is great. Some people actually spend a lot of time labeling each person's face in their program. But facial recognition is not tagging. So sometimes when you get those pictures out of that program, you no longer have the facial recognition tool that you did in your program. Uh, it is kind of an advanced step to think about taking the facial recognition and adding tags. But let me show you our roadmap because I think this will maybe give a little bit of overview. In our world of organizing pictures for, to enjoy today and be able to find the pictures that we want, as well as preserving for future generations, we have a path, all right? So this Pixology photo plan is our roadmap. And it starts with digital photos, finding it all, organizing and curating them. And then we go down to print photos, finding it all, organizing and curating and scanning them. And then we get pictures to our photo management solution. I like for people to get that work done. That's the hard stuff. It's the stuff that we don't take the time to do. And I think that's really important to set the stage for the next two parts here, using your photos and saving your photos. In our system, editing the metadata is part of using your photos, all right? So under use, we have editing. It's metadata. You could be editing and cropping your pictures, doing some filters, that sort of thing. We think in the scheme of saving photos for the long term, editing's kind of a task for down the line. Okay, so I wanted to just show where that fits because I think the next couple of slides in question might make more sense. We spend our efforts in the organizing area chronologically to kind of set the stage for finding pictures quickly and finding people in spaces of time, finding people in certain decades or parts of their life. All right. If you need to know more about this roadmap, we actually have the masterclass, and if you've been on here before, you have seen this as well. So let me just put in the comments here the masterclass, and it's got a link where you can actually download handouts because it's a long process actually. All right. So I've got that in there, and Corinne, you can always jump in if you have a question that you think I need to answer right away, because I see a couple of people are chiming in, which is great. All right. Oh, okay. Oh, there we go. How do we account for so in this photo plan, John is asking, how do we account for the number a program or camera may give to a photo? This can cause your organizing to be lost if a manual or auto sort is done. So I think you are referring to the file name that comes with the picture. All right, so file name is, our cameras, it might be DC, I can't, IMG, we see all sorts of file names. In our plan, we do not mess with the file names at all right? We don't wanna change that because, it would be too time consuming, to figure it out. I mean, there are ways to do it, but in our system, we let that part go. We rely on the photos metadata, and if the metadata is wrong, that will make it harder. But I would say that we'll put that question down for another time because I think I could go into more detail about it. So anyway, in terms of tagging pictures, it's part of editing the metadata. All right, and we have a couple examples here of how to do it. I mean, there's many programs out there where you can edit the metadata. I'm just going to go with the two that we work on the most, and that is File Explorer for a PC user. So I have a number of photos selected here. And I have an arrow pointing to tags right on the side here. The way you get this panel in File Explorer is you need to go to the View tab and then make sure your details pane is showing. Okay, and because I have all of these selected, I could add a tag for Thomas Clark, and all of these pictures would now be tagged. It is saved in the photos metadata when I click the Save button. Okay, and that's one way to do it, but it's really not fun in Windows. There are programs you can use for it. Uh, I tend to like to do it in File Explorer or Forever. All right. So here's one other view in File Explorer. Oh, there's one other view in File Explorer here that we have. Hold that thought 1 second, okay? All right. All right. When you change the view to show the details, you can see here there's a tags column, and that would show you which photos have tags. So if you don't have the tags listed there, if you right click on the bar across the top, then you will be able to add it. So right click and then click the tags button. I like to actually add tags in Forever. I think it's more enjoyable, and it's more visual to look at. And there's a couple different ways to add tags in Forever. But I'm just showing you when you have a picture open, you can just click on Add Tags, and then you just type in the tag that you want and save it and move on. So this picture that's tagged here is Helen Cordes Ostrowski. And that was my grandmother. And this is kind of a little bit of a preview of the tip, to tagging. Okay. We do want to keep tags consistent. So my example here is just showing Alex, Alexander Paul, and Alexander Bartelt. These are all three the same person. And it really should probably, be under one tag, and it might be best under Alexander Paul Bartelt. Okay, so we want to avoid having lots of different tags. A couple other tips. Use the names, not who the person is. Okay, so don't use grandma and dad, because who's ever looking at the collection will have different grandmas and dads most likely. And then for women with married names, I usually use the formula here of the first name, the last name, which is the married name, and then parentheses, the maiden name. So that's how we get Helen Cordes Ostrowski in parentheses. Now, there is always interesting family dynamics where you this formula might not work for you. And that's what led Coco to send me this question. She's been looking high and low for some guidance on how to handle people metadata when someone has multiple name changes throughout their life. It's especially the case for women who remarry several times and change their name each time, or for the professional who gets a title added later in life. So I actually really had to think about this a lot, because I really try to recommend to our clients and teaching that you just have one tag for a person. And that led me back to our process. If you remember when I showed you the roadmap, we organize, whether it's printed or digital pictures, organize, and we organize chronologically, is just a linchpin of our system. And so I put this slide up here that I think that information about life changes, marriages and remarriages or whatever is might be easier caught in an album-based organization. So here, this is an example of someone who had 3 marriages. All right. When we organize the photos, we'd have them in sections, by the years they were married because we're chronological, right? So if this particular example, if this woman was married to Gordon Smith between 1953 and 1971, we'd make sure all of the family photos, are grouped together. And then one click, we're looking at the photos from this part of her life. Then maybe there's a period where she's not married, and family photos. Then she remarries, and then we have another section of life where, she's with Tom Roberts. And who knows, maybe there's a death, a divorce, and then he's not a part of their life anymore. So we have family photos again. And then there's another marriage in 2007. So there are some families who have this situation. We haven't had it in ours, so this is why I haven't had to think about it as much. So there you have it. If this is the album structure, if I want to find photos during this client's life, with a certain part of the family, I would go to the albums versus clicking on a tag. All right. So I just thought that might be something, to think about. Let's see what I put next. I put that slide in twice. All right. If you really like the tagging process, I did think of this as a set of tags that could be used. You could use a numbering system, but you want to choose a beginning that is consistent. So when you search the tags, they come back in order. So in this case, Mary Ramsey was her, maiden name. Her first name was Mary Ramsey, and then you can see the progression of the 3 different marriages. So putting Mary and 01 in front of it just helps keep those in order of the way they happened. You could put 01, 02, 03, and 04, but that would be problematic if you had other tags that began with 01 or 02 or 03. So putting Mary in the beginning keeps that batch of tags together. You could also put the years that this applied in, this tag applied, but now your tag's getting kind of long, and tags are really designed to just be short, short 1 to 2 words, to gather a group of pictures, of something. And you don't want them to be really long. So that's why I kind of fall back onto the organization in albums of periods of life. Same with PhD or an MD, things like that. Adding a title, well, it would be kind of odd, to have, baby. Let's just say Gordon Ramsay. I think that's a cook. I wonder if that's what that I gave Ramsay was her marriage. Anyway, let's just go back to the example of where did I have that? The example of just anybody. So like we have a doctor in the family, Dr. John Smith. John Smith, comma MD. That would be the tag I might go with, but is it weird to have the baby pictures tagged with John Smith, MD? I think if you're going to be looking for pictures of John Smith as a baby, you're going to go to the album that says, John Smith's baby pictures in 1936 or whatever year it happened to be. You're not really going to. So I guess what I'm saying is the tags, you don't have to tag every single picture. You can rely on the organization and albums more than the tags. And I don't know if that helps or not, but I just giving you food for thought on how you use tags and how you might use albums to help distinguish those sections of life that maybe adding tags would be cumbersome. Because honestly, if you went through and named you tagged all the pictures of Mary Ramsey through the years with all of these, 4 different tags, that'd be pretty putsy, pretty time consuming. But it might be the way your mind thinks, and I'm totally good with that. So hopefully that's food for thought. All right, let me see what is next. And if you guys have thoughts on it, definitely put it in the chat. Love to hear it. John, who's here today, good to see you here. He asked me if I was aware of or had reviewed the PlusTek scanner that's available on Amazon. The price is much better. It's like less than half, and the reviews don't seem too bad, with some people raving about it. And you do have to feed the pictures manually. It seems like not a bad idea to save money and maybe a one-time use to scan all the photos in. So I want to point out that he saw this review on a website and he sent it over to me, which I was really grateful for. I'm going to post this here so that you can review it. And let's just see if I can get it in there. So if you want to see this, it's from Slant Reviews. And I found it interesting because at first glance it seems like, oh, if it's got good reviews, it's $400 less, it's something that you should be aware of. I have been aware of the PlusTek Z300 scanner for a few years. We haven't ordered one here because we really need something that can scan thousands and thousands of pictures. But for a consumer option, I think it could be okay, but I'm not going to tell you that I've tested it myself. Um, I did go and look online at Amazon where there are 7,045 ratings, and it clearly looks like it has a high rating, which is what I usually tell people. Look at the ratings, and if it's got a lot of ratings and it's high, it should be decent. And I went and looked at the 1-star ratings. So 4% of the ratings for this scanner are 1 star. And I thought it was interesting that some of the reviews in there were about, technical problems. 4% seems pretty small to me out of all of them. But I have to wonder how heavy use are these scanners getting by all of these users? You may identify with this or you may not, but I know people buy scanners, even the $5.99 one, and they sit for years. We have people telling us frequently that, they bought a scanner 10 years ago and it's still in the box. So I don't know how many of those reviews are of people who have substantially heavily used the scanner. All right. I think that that would be a good question to ask. I did notice one of the reviews said that they had, tried to decide between this and the Epson Fast Photo, and they went with this and they were sorry. But that's it's really going to be, personal use. I think PlusTek versus Epson as a brand. I think Epson's a superior brand, but of course that's why it cost more. The other thing is this is a manual feed scanner, and it'll be much slower than the Epson. So I put some drawbacks, and I actually did open up the PlusTek Z300 handbook, to kind of look through the settings that you can choose and that sort of thing. So this is, my 2 cents worth. The software is not as intuitive as Epson. You have to choose folders and name files in 2 separate locations, which would slow you down if you have a lot of batches. They say you can scan up to it's 2 seconds per photo to scan. And I I really question that. I mean, we have used manual scanners, flatbed scanners, the slide through scanners, and the fast feeding scanners. I really question 2 seconds per photo. I bet you put one photo through, it goes through in 2 seconds, but you physically cannot keep up with feeding manually a scanner like that. So I would wonder if, if you have a box of 1,000 pictures, manually feeding that would get pretty tedious. A shoebox holds 1,000 pictures. So just to give you an idea, you'd have to feed those through manually. Our arms would fall off here, but some people may not have as many photos to scan. Manual feeding, you're going to want to scan at 600 dots per inch. That's the preservation level of scanning. A lot. I know that 2 seconds per photo is based on 300 dots per inch. So scanning at 600 DPI is going to slow you down, and then naming the folders and files will slow you down as well. So I think if you have under 1,000 pictures and you've got time, it might be worth it. But I think if you've got more, than one shoebox of photos, you might want to invest in the Epson Fast Photo. Now, occasionally, that Epson Fast Photo 680W scanner is available on the Epson Clearance Center. It's not today, but I've had quite a few of our clients who've gone on and been able to get that scanner at $3.99 instead of $5.99. So, whoops. So there's the link in the comments. All right. I also put a picture in here of the Epson Fast Photo 680, just so that you could see. You can put a stack in on the top and then it feeds through the bottom. It will scan the back sides for you automatically, and it detects writing, so it'll only save the back sides that have writing on it. And in the top right, it has a holder for fragile items that you can use as well. So I, if I thought we would use the Epson or the little PlusTek scanner, I'd order one for here, but we would never we wouldn't use that because we like to get through the photo scanning faster. So I hope that helps, John. And if you do buy it, you got to let us know how it works for you, because it might help other people make a decision about it. So that was a great question. All right. So I'm going to just, well, I bet, Corinne, you can add that question on. I should not have the chat visible. That I wouldn't interrupt the flow of the show. Here. How much cleaning do you give a photo before scanning, and with what? I have a lot of pics. So we have air blowers here, both like a little a little squeeze and a little air squeezer pump to blow dust off, and then we have an electric air blower that can really blow dust off. But we don't actually spend a lot of time on this. When you have so many, it's hard to clean each one, but dusting them off and that sort of thing. I might share some thoughts about that in the future, because there are some photos that definitely need attention if they are damp or they have mold, things like that we need to, be careful about. So, all right. Okay. That is not something I can talk about today. I have to say that today we ran a little bit behind with getting our slides together, and I will be better next week. Rachel Lois asked a question. This is just a quick one I can answer. She said, are there any programs out there that can estimate dates of your digital or scanned photos? I wish that there was. I'm sure I am absolutely certain that we are going to be seeing artificial intelligence programs coming. In fact, I had a report that there's at least 5 programs now that might be available for me to test if I wanted to go that route on artificial intelligence. I'm certain this is coming. Okay. So, but right now, I don't know of a program that will estimate dates of the digital or scanned photos. We I mean, when you think about digital photos, your metadata should, in most cases, be okay, especially with current pictures. But older digital photos, I don't know of anything. And scan photos, no. But we will keep you posted on that as we see things come out. But I'm thinking there'll be some artificial intelligence that'll analyze your pictures are already being analyzed if you didn't know that when you use the Google Photos or iCloud Photos, and it's probably only a matter of time. That was a good question. All right. Oh, I put this on here because Liz found our channel and she had a lot of hearts in there. Most of them are heartbroken because Shutterfly. Well, first she had Kodak software, and Kodak had a website, where people could order prints. They went out of business, and then Shutterfly got all of those pictures, and now we have to be concerned about how Shutterfly is. Managing our pictures because they are getting compressed, and the organization in Shutterfly is pretty scary. So uh we have this is why we need to get on it, why we need to tell other people. And I wanted to point that out, that she wrote that she's sharing with her loved ones and working on our focus plan as she can. And that's really, something that will help more people just be aware that they need to do something with their pictures today before there are bigger problems. And that's why we have our roadmap to help people do that. Okay, the last thing I wanted to touch upon before answering other questions is our preferred place for storing pictures for generations to come is forever.com. And they are hosting a family history virtual event next week. Well, actually, no, not next. It's like Saturday, and it's free. And you do have to have an account, so you'd have to sign in for it. But I'm going to post the link for it in case you'd be interested. Forever does offer family research, genealogy research. So I'm sure they'll be touching upon that, but they may have some interesting topics and things to think about with preserving your family history, outside of just the photos. All right. Then that leaves it for any other questions. So now I'll put it into Corinne's hands to put the questions up there, and let's see what we've got. So N. Shrum is wondering about using Amazon Photos for one of your backups. And if you want to download your photos from them at some points, are your files going to be compressed and not print as well? From the testing that I've done, when you download your photos from Amazon, they're not currently compressed. All right. But I would monitor that, and they could change that, especially because it's a pretty nice service that a lot of people are getting for free. And when things are free or $1.99 a month, I just don't know how reliable that is for the future. If you have your other backup, I do encourage you to have a full backup in your home. So you would be covered with that, even if Amazon did have them be compressed. So good question. All right. Anything else? Okay. JD, old sticky albums this week. You didn't ruin any of the pictures, but they're not perfect. Would you send them through the Epson or put each in a protector first? Is scanning degraded with that? So the Epson Fast Photo, which I showed you that sheet protector that you could put pictures in. Um, really wouldn't want to put sticky stuff through the scanner or in that holder to send it through. When we have sticky photos, we will put something on the back of it to send it through, and then take that. I mean, sometimes that item. So maybe I should just back up. Sticky photos are really just a pain in the butt because when you take them out, you don't want to stack sticky photos against each other. So we put a sheet of paper in between the photo and the next photo. Then when we scan it, that goes through together, and we might have to crop it if that piece of paper is bigger than the picture. There also is like levels of stickiness. Some are just a tiny bit sticky. Like it's just a little tiny tacky. That we would probably put through. Um, Obviously, anything that would leave a residue on the scanning surfaces, we wouldn't want to do. So, the important thing is to check your scanner frequently if you are working with sticky pictures, and make sure the surfaces are clean and there's no smudges on them. The other option would be to flatbed scan some of them if they're stuck, if they're thicker or something like that. But we don't usually want to expose the scanner to sticky stuff. Obvious. I mean, you know that. That's why you asked. So we use a protective sheet of paper in between, unless it's just a little tacky. Sometimes it's just a little tacky. There's no like ridges or bumps of stickiness that we've put through, but we try to clean frequently. And you'll notice it on the pictures because you'll start seeing lines and things like that. So watch your scan quality, the photo quality. Hope that helps. Anything else? All right. So I thought that maybe we have some other topics for questions, and that's okay. Anything else that we should touch base on? No. Okay. Oh, JD's mentioning that hers aren't really sticky, but they have damaged corners from previous places they were. The paper is pulled off partially on some of the backs. Oh, so yeah, when you have a picture that has like partial of the picture peeled off, the backing is peeled off, they are more fragile, and you might want to put those in the protector for sure. And the thing with when the pictures go through with the protector through the Epson Fast Photo, if you're missing a corner, the Epson fills that corner in with gray. And I like to have anything that's missing from a picture be filled in with white. So I'll flatbed those. It's just food for thought. But the damaged corners, we see that a lot because pictures come out of multiple different albums. Sometimes they've been in one album, moved to another sticky album, and then they just are a little more challenging to scan. All right. Then, that is all for today, and I really thank you for sticking here through with me. And Corinne, I know I've been a little scattered, but always passionate about helping people figure out how to get through saving their pictures, because time's wasting, and we want to share and save those memories today while we still have important people with us to celebrate the stories and preserve legacies. All right, we will see you next week. You guys have a great week, and stay warm and avoid those winter storms. We will try to. All righty.